Hello and welcome to another edition of James and Chris Science Videos, where today we're going to be looking at photosynthesis and putting it together so that we can help with your ISEB examinations or for Key Stage 3 Science. So let's make a start then. Photosynthesis is a word that originates from Greek. And if you look at the two words, photos meaning light, synthesis meaning to put together, it's a literal translation of photosynthesis is putting things together with the help of light. And it's applied specifically to plants and how they put things together in order to help them survive. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the process of photosynthesis, look at what's needed, look at the equation, look at where it happens, and add some other kind of facts and figures as we go along. So to start with, what you've got to understand about plants is that plants are living organisms. And like any living organisms, they need to be able to do the 7 characteristics of life in order to be alive. The 7 characteristics of life are usually represented by the diagram of Mrs. Gren. So here's quite a standard one, and I'm sure you've seen something similar to this, and it goes through each of them. A plant, in order to be alive, will need to be able to move, to respire, to show sensitivity, to grow, to reproduce, to produce smaller plants, to excrete, to give out some kind of waste, and nutrition. Now, in order to do all of those things, the respiration is the key one, because respiration gives it its energy in order to be able to move, to sense things, to grow, to reproduce. It's so important. So the whole purpose of being alive, respiration is going to be the thing that gives you the energy in order to do those things you need to do. So in order for respiration to take place, the chemical that all living organisms need is glucose, sugar. It's got the formula of C6H12O6, which means it's got 6 carbons, 12 hydrogens and 6 oxygens. That is the molecule that is going to drive respiration. It's going to give you the energy that you need. Now, for us as animals, we get our glucose by plants can't do that. The reason that they can't do it is that they can't move around freely enough to hunt and to gather. So they need to get their glucose from a different place. The common misconception that people have is that they can just suck glucose up from the soil. And trust me, soil is not full of sugar and doesn't taste sweet. So they can't absorb it from the soil. They've got to find a different place. So if we look at it, the 2 places where they can get carbon, oxygen and hydrogen are from carbon dioxide in the air. There's carbon and oxygen in that. And there's water, which they can get from the soil. That in it's got the hydrogen. So we said the glucose we needed 6 carbons, 12 hydrogens and 6 oxygens. That's where the plant finds it. It can find it from the carbon dioxide in the air. There's lots of carbon dioxide in the air it can use. And water, which it can get from underground. What it will do is it will put those together and form your glucose molecule. Now, if you've spotted, you've probably noticed that there is too much oxygen in the raw materials, in the reactants. So the carbon dioxide and the water both got oxygen, and so we end up with some oxygen left over. And that oxygen is a waste product, which is very useful for us as animals, as we are going to use the oxygen for our respiration to stay alive. Now, I've put down here just a little kind of way. Some people really struggle to remember the order that the equation goes. And so just a simple way of doing it is to remember that carbon dioxide and water, if I put them together, I've put CO and W, making the word cow. And the other side of the equation is glucose and oxygen. And so a simple kind of way of remembering it for photosynthesis, you've got cow and go. Just a simple way of remembering which order it goes. It's useful because if you remember that one, you will also remember the equation for respiration, because that's the exact opposite. Glucose plus oxygen goes to carbon dioxide and water. It's the exact opposite equation. So glucose and oxygen always go together. Carbon dioxide and water always go together. And that's going to be quite useful. In fact, carbon dioxide and water are quite often products you find with combustion. It's also carbon dioxide and water is the products you're going to get from burning hydrocarbons, for example. So it's a useful thing to remember those particular ways. So if I put carbon dioxide and water, Would I suddenly get glucose and oxygen? Well, no, you'd get fizzy water. You need some other things to happen in order for this to work. And the first thing you need is a source of energy, because you're combining things. You're going to need some energy to do it. Plants get their energy from the sunlight, from any kind of light that is around. And that's going to be the energy source for making this molecule, for making the glucose. So that's not all that's needed. If I had fizzy water and I shone a light on it, I don't suddenly get sugary water. That wouldn't happen. I need something else as well. And the other bit that happens is we're going to need a part of a cell, and in that part of a cell is going to be some enzymes that are going to help put that molecule together. So here's a picture of a plant cell, and with all the standard parts of it. Please look at the earlier videos if you want to look at plant cells in more detail. But the one that we're particularly interested in, and the site of photosynthesis, are the chloroplasts, and they are green, kind of bean-shaped objects that are found within the cell. Inside that, there are various different structures. Now, what each of those do, you will do later at GCSE and A-level, but for the moment, the key part are the thylakoids. And inside the thylakoid is a pigment called chlorophyll. And it's this chlorophyll which is the agent that's going to help combine the carbon dioxide and water with the aid of sunlight to make your photosynthesis. So that's going to happen inside all of those chloroplasts. So here's a quick summary. This summarizes everything that you need to know in terms of photosynthesis. First of all, plants need to make their own glucose. They can't eat, they're not able to absorb it from the soil, so their solution is to make their own glucose. They can do this because glucose is a molecule that contains carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and you can find carbon, hydrogen, oxygen in various different parts around us. Water for the hydrogen, carbon dioxide for the carbon, both of those contain oxygen. So that's where they get the raw materials in order to make it. You've then got the reaction to combine them, where you take carbon dioxide and water, you put them together, and you get the product glucose, which it uses, and oxygen, which is a waste product, and it gets rid of. This happens in the chloroplasts. That is where the enzymes are able to help combine the molecules together. This happens in the chloroplast, so the chlorophyll is the pigment that does that. So hopefully that is everything you need to know in terms of photosynthesis for your ISEB or Key Stage 3 exams. Thank you for listening. Hope to see you soon again. Bye-bye.